Belinda is online.
Don't I totally, I brought it.
There you go.
Yes, we are. We're ready to go.
All right, I'd like to call the September 28, 2021 Lincoln Way Special Recreation Association Board of Directors regular board meeting to order. Roll call.
Kelly. Here. Greg Lewis,
Here.
Jay,
Here.
Audrey. Here. Gina. Here. Greg Vitale.
Joining you right now.
Greg Vitale.
Greg, are you here?
I can see him.
I can see him too. I don't know if he can hear us.
Morning, everyone.
Oh, there he is.
Are you here?
Greg Vitale. But I know you say hello. Okay, Kristen. Here. We have a quorum.
All right, stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, do we have any public comments today?
No one mentioned they had a public comment. We have two parents online and we have one parent in the audience. Public comment? Okay, fine.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 3, motion to accept treasurer's reports as presented. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions regarding the treasurer's report?
One thing you will see in the treasurer's report, we did make a payment on the PPE loan, and that payment got returned to us. So it was credited to our account last week. So just want to let you guys know that.
All right, any other
Keith,
comments?
why was it credited back? Just,
We have been forgiven for the loan, so we had to make, but it was the timing of it. The first payment was due, so they told us that we needed to make that payment on that first payment, and then it would get returned, and it did. So it got credited back to our account.
makes sense. Thank you.
All right, let's roll call, please.
Greg Lewis,
Yes.
Audrey. Yes. Gina. Yes. Greg Vitale,
Yes,
Kristen. Yes. Kelly. Yes. And Jay.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, moving on, excuse me, to the payment of bills, approval of accounts payable in the amount of $124,535.34, which may include lodging and travel expenses.
Make a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $124,535.34, which may include lodging and travel.
All right, any questions about the accounts payable?
You need to send out the details. I don't see anything wrong in general, but I'd like to see the details
Details of the payment of the bill.
with credit cards and stuff.
Yes, it went into the wrong folder. It is in the folder now. It is in the folder for review. So it just didn't go into the folder that was sent out to you guys, but the details are there.
Roll call, please.
Audrey. Yes. Gina.
Yes.
Greg Vitale,
yes,
Kristen. Yes. Kelly. Yes. Greg Lewis
Yeah,
and Jay.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Do we have any special guests today?
No special guests,
Any communications?
no communications.
All right, we're moving on to the consent agenda. I have a motion for the approval of the regular meeting minutes of August 17th, 2021.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Any comments or questions about the minutes? Okay, roll call please.
Rita, abstain. Greg?
Yes.
Vitale. Greg Vitale?
Yes,
Sorry. Kirsten? Yes. Kelly? Yes. Greg Lewis?
You sure?
Jay?
Yes.
And Audrey? Yes. Motion passed.
All right, moving on to staff and committee reports. Keith, you're up.
All right, so our facility, we are, as you can see, our TVs in here, we're upgrading our televisions to tomorrow. They're gonna go and we're gonna get some larger TVs for our hybrid programs and some of the programs that we have in our building. So the TVs that we had are gonna be repurposed and put around the offices and in the lobby and different things. So they just were never used because they were up really high. So we wanted to make sure we brought them down and get a little bigger and make sure we can do everything hybrid that's going on. So it's going to be pretty cool to have that. And we got some good technology that's going to be better than all these wires that you see behind me for meetings and different things and rentals. The Eagle Scouts have completed the Gaga Ball pit and the fire pit areas outside. So that is really nice. And once again, that was zero cost to us. So we're excited that those things are there and participants and families are and the neighbors are using that regularly. Knights of Columbus have resumed their annual contributions for their Tootsie Roll drives. They donated $2,125 to us this year, which is outstanding. And we're one of their favorite charities. So we get to go to their steak dinner and go to their golf outing, and they really enjoy giving us money, and we're literally taking it. And we will, some of it went to scholarship and then some marketing things and some other things that we need. So we're growing our scholarship fund because we're getting a lot of requests for scholarships. So we want to make sure that fund is healthy for people to get that money when they receive them, when they come in. We sent out 2 grants this month. I put a list of all of the grants we sent out since 2017. So we sent out 2 this month. Please feel free to see those. And when they come in, I will report if we get them. We're still building a relationship with a lot of organizations out to get more grants and things like that. Exciting news, the foundation golf outing raised approximately $36,000. 27 at the sanctuary and about 9K at the Links of Caroline, which is awesome. We didn't expect to hit 36,000, but we did, and it's going to be really exciting to be able to give their contribution without any hesitation this year. So it's going to be pretty exciting. PPE loan, this has changed in the last few days. We're in the final steps of getting the loan forgiven. But we did get word that it will be forgiven, and the money giving back to us is the next step of knowing that we've been forgiven. Audit, we started the audit process again. We have Lauterbach and Amen. They were on site on September 9th. They'll be back tomorrow to do some field work, and we're really prepared to get that information to them. Marie is working hard, and Tom is working hard on getting all the information to them that they are requesting. So we appreciate their service. The Kindle report is attached in your binder. The from July 24th to August 25th, we've raised what is that? Total $5,803. So those were just random donations from all the different areas of people that have donated from our website giving activity. We are beginning the process of distinguished agency accreditation. We would like to start that. It's going to be a big process, but we think if we start getting the information now, that when we get ready to go for their accreditation, then we'll have everything set and it'll be a cakewalk. So we're just kind of, CSPAR is doing it. So we're just gonna kind of piggyback on them to get a lot of the information and kind of just put it in so we can apply for distinguished accreditation. I know that.
Why isn't the camera working?
Click
Oh,
back. on-
there it is.
Okay.
No, no.
Okay. So we're really working on distinguished agency accreditation. So that's going to be, there's a new, forgot the name of the software that is going to, you put everything in the portal, they tell you everything they need. And you just really, it's going to be really good with all the policies that we need to update and everything that we need to do. And it keeps you regular on a system that we will be able to follow, where we don't have to really think about what we need next and when is it due and all of that. So I'm excited about that, is getting that together. So COVID conversation. So I did put this on here so we can really have this conversation, because we are getting a bunch of mass exemptions. Well, not a bunch, but a few mass exemptions. We did get a letter from our legal counsel, which is Risk Management Council, to send out. They helped us write that letter, and we have a few that may be going through the process of getting a mass exemption. So we want to just make sure we have that conversation and what that looks like and what that means to the agency and to the programs if we do receive a request, or we get that person that finally finishes all the things that they have to go through to get that restriction. So it could be coming. I just want to make sure that we have that conversation and know that we will, if we go down that we have to keep masks on, and that is our rule, that if someone comes in with a mask, what that looks like. Will programs decline? Will it, we can't gauge that. We don't know, but it's good to have that conversation and know what you guys are doing at your agency. Also vaccine requirements. Schools are really going towards mandating vaccines. That's something we have not done yet. We do have a good number of our staff. We know that our staff are probably in the office, probably 99.9% or 8%, 98% The office staff are 99.9% vaccinated, and some of our part-time staff is about, I would say, 80%. So we do know that we've asked them to voluntarily provide their vaccine.
Let me get this.
So we do, and that's all.
Yeah.
Gallery.
That's all through the Crisis Go system. So it was all sent out so they can put it in, and it's all stored there and housed there. So I just really want to have a conversation about that. I know it's in my report, but that is something that's a big topic for us right now. So I'll open the floor.
Someone requests a medical exemption. Can you explain like the process that PDRMA is recommending that we go through with any of our participants that would request that exemption, like what the steps look like?
Yeah, pretty much they have to get a doctor's note, and they have to sign off that it's a medical necessity to not wear the mask. So the doctor has to sign off on it, and it lists out the specific reasons why they can't wear it to come back. And then that is the beginning of the process. Then we start talking about how we can get the individuals into the program and successfully make it work. So they have to reach all of these requirements. Was there anything else I'm missing?
I just really want to know from the doctor's standpoint, if it's a minute they can't wear a mask for, is it 30 minutes and then they need a mask break? So that all needs to be structured out. That's basically what they're trying to do, to see if they can wear it at all. So if they can wear it at all, then they really can come into the programs, is what they're saying, but we need to provide those accommodations then at 30 minutes to take them out for a break. So PDRMA stance is they really don't want to have somebody who is not masked the entire day here, but more so what can we do or what steps we can take to get it so they're successful. Also, they talked about like face shields and different that they could potentially wear, but they all want that in a doctor's note. I guess at the end of the doctor's note, it does have to say too that they feel strongly that they will not be contracting COVID and spreading it. But I don't know if a lot of doctors are willing to say that they're confident that they will spread COVID. I don't know if anybody can do that. So I think that's almost their hook at the end. But
we're kind of going down the almost identical path as far as that goes. What accommodations can be made, but if in fact it becomes a situation where the mask is exempt, then the adaptation of the program needs to be in place that they always will remain 6 feet or further apart as well. So their experience within the program could be different once that exemption is realized. If it's something that's not just a periodic break or something like that.
Yeah, Jay, we've been dealing with that too, that same thing, and that's Paderma's recommendation, which makes sense because then you have the distancing requirement, and then you run in this situation where the individual or the parent feels as if the person's not being included. So it's kind of like a situation where we're dealing with the best of both worlds. What, we had the exemption, but yet certain programs require individuals to be kind of close together. But if you have the distancing requirement, then we run in this inclusion thing. So it's kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't. So it's a tough call, Keith.
So I just want to let you know that we are doing our due diligence and doing what we have and responding to each request as they come in individually, because every participant is different. So that's what we're doing. And we still have our return to play guidelines that we still have. And we're willing to meet with everybody to see if individuals can return to play and when can it can return to play. So Melissa, Tammy, and my staff have done a fantastic job of getting that and really staying on top of every request that comes in. But like I said, it's recreation. They have to initiate the conversation. We don't know that you want the service. We got an idea, but if you don't call us, we don't know. So that is where we are. So we're willing to work with every parent and give them the real truth when they can come back and how they can come back. And but if you don't call, we don't know. So that's the harder part. Okay. Good conversation. Any questions on vaccine requirements? I think we're all in the same boat with that. So
And you don't fall under any of the governor's mandates right now.
right. And that's what Paderma has requested too, that we just sit back and do that, because we have a high level of our staff already vaccinated. Don't make it require it right now because it's not a problem. But that's where we are right now. Additional accommodation form, the form is ready. I know the board has asked for that. We're implementing that. That's a form that if anybody comes into our building, regardless, they want to provide medical marijuana, they want to do cathing, they want to do feeding, they want to do anything, they will have to fill out this form and put a list of individuals down that will be coming in to do that service for us, so we know who's coming in and it's not just somebody right away that's going to come in and do it. So we worked on that. So my upcoming events that's coming, NRPA conference was last week. It was a pretty good conference. A lot of connections was made, so it's good stuff. And we did some events that I think we'll talk about in the rest of the meeting. And the TR Leadership Summit will be here Friday. So we will be hosting the TR Leadership Summit, which is awesome that we've been requested to host the TR Leadership Summit. All right, and that is my report.
On to marketing and public relations.
Yeah, 1 second, I got a question. All right, so one, if you haven't received, you should have received something from the auditor, which isn't uncommon, but that hasn't been done in a while.
Oh,
Everybody's looking at me.
yes, yeah, you should have received a letter from the auditor.
Just to verify payments and basically show the journal entries and everything else that, because that's all going to be part of the process. But I'm sure if they don't have it, we'll have to get that. That'll slow down the process. So if you haven't gotten that letter from them, reach out to Keith. And then can we get a copy of these two, the actual submittals on the grants?
Copy of the grants that we submitted.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd just like to see what.
Yeah, these grants should be at the bottom, or they'll be on the next month report. So they go into
Yeah,
the
there is.
order.
Here, I'm just saying the actual submittal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We can.
Were those grants done through the grant writing agency? That whole list?
Yeah. Yeah, so all of these that were on here are grant seekers. Some of them, most of them, they find and book for us, but some of them we send and, hey, can you do this one for us? Like I did send her the grant for the tourism, and she said, well, we really don't do that type of government grant writing. And I was like, okay. And she was like, I can give you a quote for it. And I was like, no, thank you. But these are all grants that we submitted and we, some of them we received, some of them we haven't, but we're out there.
I'm not aware of a letter that we received, so.
I think it came when we were at a conference. I do recall seeing, I did get it.
Just before it came out.
I did not get one. I got a bunch of their emails this morning.
They're basically, they're looking for their journal entries on when you made payments, your payments to LWSRA.
So, this was part of the audit from last year, and we provided, you know, how it came in the bank and copies of the checks and all that. So they have a little bit different, they start with a confirmation to the park districts. If you guys could provide that, if you can't or don't want to, we'll provide, you know, copies of the check. So it's just, they take a little more proactive as a confirmation versus like in-house us showing how we got the money. But it was always part of the SICH audit. It's just that, you know, the new auditor does it a little differently.
Ours just went straight to the superintendent of finance and HR, and she copied me along with her response. So you may have not received it directly.
We'll make sure, we'll see. If you haven't gotten it, Jay hasn't gotten it, Audrey.
Taking care of it while I was out last week.
Okay.
Did it come from Lauterbach?
It would come from Ottawa. It's an independent confirmation. Like, you know, they confirm our cash accounts, the debt and all that independently. This is just one more thing that.
It's good. It's not uncommon. It's just, it hasn't been done here in a while. I'm just showing my age because it hasn't been done.
How long are we talking?
Huh?
All right.
Marketing and public relations. So, and Nadine is really pushing to be in the community and doing all of your events. So if you haven't heard from her yet, she wants to connect and do more than just park parties. We've seen that we've gotten a couple participants from doing that. So word of mouth is usually the biggest way that we market LWSRA. So it's really nice to be out there. I know she's done pretty much, there's something in Wilmington. She's done, we went down for the car show. We've done Touch a Truck, Frankfurt Police Department, stuff with New Lenox Park District, stuff with Westside Children's Therapy. So we're definitely getting out there. So if there's anything you guys do have that you think it would be great for us to come set up a table, please shoot an email over to Nadine and she'll get somebody out there if it's not her. I think we have a couple things coming up in October too that will be in everybody's district. So I think that's great that we're getting our name out, and I think we've gotten close to 20 new participants out of that. So if you just think about all the weeks that we haven't done and how easy it is to set up a table and just talk and be there and be present, I think we can really grow our numbers that way. Otherwise, she talks about the golf outing that did raise the $36,000, which was great. We have dates for next year. So Friday, August 12th will be the sanctuary outing, and then we're actually going to do a Saturday outing for the Links of Carolina, and that would be September 17th. So those are 2 dates to save. Play Pals is going great. We've had 3 events so far. That is that program for the 2 to 5-year-olds coming in. Every month we've gotten new families. So, and we're reaching as far as Elwood. Elwood and Mantino, we've had a couple because we're just posting the flyer on Facebook and people want services for their younger kids. So if you guys know any families, again, send them our way. I think it's a great connection. The parents do stay, so they get to talk. Half of the battle when you're newly diagnosed is meeting other parents and being able to talk and just get to know each other, and they're going through probably the same struggles. So that program has been very nice. We also did a fundraiser with Wildfire Farm and Gina's Teardrop Cafe. I think we are trying to hire. So far, we've
hired 7 new part-time staff. They're all high school students. We really want to hire for our adult day program. So I know you guys are struggling to get staff. I think it's a nationwide problem right now. So we are trying to hire so we can take more and more participants. Safety wise, Tammy and I went to the Paderma slip, trip, and fall workshop. We have a lot of work to do in that end. They have a nice new online portal, but a lot of work to get that up and running. So we'll be working on that in the next month or 2 to get that going. Inclusion, same thing. When we have a staff shortage, it's hard to get out to everybody, but we're doing our best. We're sending full-timers, we're sending office staff out there to meet your guys' needs. Outreach on my end, I've been to the New Lenox Chamber outing on the 6th and the Wilmington Car Show in the month of August. Upcoming events from me. I am actually on the Board of Regents for the CR Summit. They usually don't like to come this far down south, but we've convinced them that we have a great facility. So on Friday, we are hosting the CR Summit, which is pretty cool. So there's going to be about 50 in attendance, whether it's virtual or in person. We wish we had more numbers, but everybody's working their own programs. So it's really difficult to get those going on. But it's an all-day event and basically education sessions to help PR professionals grow. So I know all of our recreation specialists will be in attendance for that. Support services. Brochure, fall registration went smoothly. We have started all of our fall programs. We are starting to plan with your spring, and the brochure and registration is planned to come out in December for that. We're going to do like we did for fall, a regular brochure, 14 weeks for us. So that's exciting that we're not going month to month anymore. Website, an upgrade to security camera system is being evaluated and different options are being explored. I know that will truly help us to have some working cameras here at the building. It not only helps for security reasons, but if we have behaviors, we're easily able to go back and check the camera about how we can get better at what happened in that situation. Manager of recreation, so Tammy's report. She's talked about training all of our new staff, which when we hire in bulk, it's a little bit easier to train everybody. But we do a lot of online trainings and we do some in-person stuff. Transportation wise, total is just under 1,800 miles put on the vehicle. We're doing our safety lane in August for a couple of our vehicles. And you have all of her stuff. Tammy did also go to the NRPA conference with Keith and I this year, but you have the bus reports there. Titans and teen and adults. We're still doing a couple of our Titan sessions virtual, but we're kind of going to go through all that presentation, so I'm kind of going to skip past that. Juanita also oversees our Club Talk program, which we currently have 5 participants.
Oh, you can finish and then I'll put that.
Special Olympics, state tennis. Out of 5 athletes who qualified for tennis, 4 of them competed, which is awesome. We had 5 silver medals, 2 bronze medals, and a 4th place ribbon. For golf, we walked away with 2 gold medals in that area, so that is also very exciting. Chris is also running basketball, volleyball, golf, bocce, and basketball conditioning for our guys that aren't really ready for team play yet. So we are busy in the Special Olympic area. For adaptive sports, we competed at nationals. Do you want to talk a little bit about softball?
Yeah, we completed at nationals. We placed 3rd place in Biloxi, Mississippi. Team went really well. So we played well. We just couldn't. The bats wouldn't get going on the first day, which dropped us down, and we ran into a pesky Nebraska team that kind of took care of business. So that's pretty much what happened. It was really good to get out and get our new participant Jay, who came to speak, an opportunity to play this year. That was really the driving force behind this season. So he really enjoyed it, and he's really plugged into us with doing a lot of volunteer opportunities and just helping out. So yeah, it was a short season, but it was good, and on to basketball.
And for Brooks' report at the end here, we're pretty much running back to normal. So we're out and about in the community. We're taking buses to special events, which is different. We haven't done that yet since pre-COVID. And our youth programming is up and running, and we're seeing decent numbers. So that's all really exciting. Can't wait for winter, spring. I think we'll go up even more. Getting closer to normal. Any questions for me?
All right, I'm gonna run into this Titan program presentation, and Juanita's here to share some of the stuff too. So we have a PowerPoint, and I just wanted to really just go through and share some of the things that we have done and where we come from and where we're going, because it's important to know. Okay, so really the Titans program started as a day-by-day program. I know Gail, I believe, will try to challenge me, but she says she's the first participant that started it, so I'm just going to give it to her. I don't know who it was, but I'll just give it to her, give it a win, give it a victory. But it started in fall 2003, and it was basically created on the needs and the requests of the families. You know, what did the program look like in the beginning? The beginning, it was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday with weekly registration program. We had winter, spring, and fall sessions, no programs during the summer. 2 months off between winter, spring sessions, and a mixture. The mixture was in-district and out-of-district participants just to start the program. That's how we started it. Growing day by day. In 2005, registration changed to monthly sessions. 2005, fall, winter, spring sessions extended with a shorter holiday break and no summer programs. Fall 2007, we start offering a 4-day-a-week program. And then we start registration by season instead of monthly. Titan begins. This is in 2011. Melissa came along and she created the Titans thing. What is it?
And just doing by initiating teamwork, acceptance, knowledge. We have a little K in front of that, and service.
So that was in 2011. The name changed to Titans, and we offered the program 5 days a week in 2 groups. And I'll go back a little bit. It also, Diane Rutlick was on, and I was at the bowling alley with my family, which happens, and she wanted more of the program. And how can we reduce these breaks? And it was a request, and I brought it to staff and tried to figure out how we could make that happen. So that's why we grew the program and we made it bigger and better, because that's what we do. So you had your choice to register for 2 days, 3 days, or 5 days a week, but you had to commit for the entire year. This caused a little rift because a lot of people didn't want to register for the entire year, but we had to ensure that we can get staff and accommodate everything. So we had to figure out how to do that. And people fit a little rift because they were going on vacations, but we had to try to keep it like a daycare that we need to hold your spot, blah, blah, blah. So in 2018, we started a Titans 3 program. We had a increase in number, we had a wait list, and then the needs, again, was just so great that we found out that we had a great program and people were trying to get in. What was the difference between the 3 groups? Because you guys may not know, Titans 1 was a 1-to-1, 1-to-2 staff participant ratio. Titans 2 was a 1-to-6, 1-to-4 staff to participant ratio, and Titans 3 was a 1-to-3, 1-to-4 staff to participant ratio. Prior to COVID, I challenged the staff to make goals and objectives to all programs, not only this program, but to all programs. We wanted to make sure every program had recreation value. So that is what we decided to do. The board asked about the day programming, having more recreation component to them, and that's what we did. The agency was in the process of also talking to other agencies to see how to deliver the service to, that was my note to Melissa. We inserted it at the bottom, you'll see that. But deliver the service. We considered partnerships with several outside organizations, a lot of SRAs. They do partner with the Trinity Service or St. Coletta's to deliver this service, and it works out well. We had several meetings with CTF, COVID ended those conversations, so we did not pursue them any longer, and a lot of group homes have not started back their programming, so it's, the conversations haven't started back. The agency was also in a bind with the minimum wage increase and the number of hours the staff were getting, and us providing benefits. So that was something looming that we were struggling with, because some of the staff were at that 30 hours a week, and we were not prepared to give benefits to staff for this program and pay. What this program cost at that time, it was $43 a day. The effects of COVID. In the beginning, we immediately gave a virtual option to our participants. As things began to open up, and we developed a return to play guidelines, what we talked about earlier. We developed a tier system based on the CDC requirement, and then we installed a Crisis Go program to track the program attendance, and a third of our staff returned to work. And now I brought Juanita to talk about what the program looks like today. So you can kind of, explain to the board what we've done and how we've provided accommodation for our participants in this program.
Good morning. So what we are doing now is we're still offering 5-day-a-week program. Program runs from 9 to 2, just as before. On Mondays, we use that day just strictly to be out into the community. So we use that as a field trip day. Participants are out the entire time. So we still go to some of the places that we been to prior to COVID, the movies, restaurants, different facilities to do different activities. We've also brought back our programming by offering different 4-day options. So we have a Tuesday and a Thursday option for our participants. We also have a Wednesday and Friday option for our participants. And so they can choose to do all 5 days if they want to do all 5 days. Just like before, they can choose to do 4 days, so they can do Tuesday and Thursday option. They can choose to do the Wednesday and Friday option. With that, the sessions are all, and I know it's kind of small, sorry, I don't have it printed. But with that, they're able to choose from the sheet that they have in this sheet. And for instance, Tuesday and Thursday, they have 1 hour and 15 minutes for each program. So you get an opportunity to choose what activity they're interested in. After that, they get to choose another activity for the next 1 hour and 15 minutes. I call it an a la carte because they really get to be a part of the process. So as before, when we had our regular program, they just did whatever the program leader had planned for that day. Now they're able to choose if they enjoy walking, they can do walking. If they enjoy crafts, they can pick those things. So it gives them a little bit more of ability to do that. The programs are 14 weeks. So we have a 7-week program that there's break in between. It gives us time to program and plan again for the second 7 weeks. And then we'll start back up. The other important or good part about this is, so if they choose like walking club, the first session, the second session, they can choose a different session. So they don't have to choose the same exact session. Also, each of our sessions, each week we do a different activity. So they will never get the same activity. Even if they decide that they want to do craft creations for the whole entire 14 weeks, they will get a different activity. When developing these programs, what I did was I went through each calendar. I went back and looked at each program calendar to kind of see what type of activities they were doing throughout the month. And I just pulled from those calendars and created a program for our participants. So far, the program has been going great. Participants are able to meet people maybe they weren't with in the other programs. So they're able to see people and faces. I've been doing a couple of IEP meetings at the Wilmington High School. So I know I have people coming in and interested in the program. I've been talking to people at Central High School with their transition program. So I do have, more people excited about the program. I've had
parents that were on our wait list no longer have to worry about being on the wait list because there's more than enough room, there's more than enough classes to offer. So it just gives everybody the ability to really have a great time in recreation. You have any questions?
But so some of the things that we could not do, we could not do door-to-door transportation. And I know that's something that we did in the past, but door-to-door transportation, just something that we could not put a strain on our buses and our staff anymore to kind of really facilitate this program. So, but what we did was look for an option to get everybody to the time. So some participants may have to have, they can't feed themselves. So coming to a morning session may be beneficial for them to still have access to a day program. So we were trying to be really accommodating to all in this in this process, but door to door was something we couldn't do. We also did a survey. So we did a survey of we got 24 responses of the individuals that were enrolled in the program currently. We got, you have results of that. We had 13 highly satisfied, 9 satisfied, 1 unsatisfied, and 1 highly unsatisfied. So this is a pilot program. We're looking to grow like we've done before. So we will take suggestions and criticism, and we will go back and deliver the best product that we can. That's what we do. And we've done it for years, as we've proven in the previous slides that that's what we do. We know that this time that we can't service everybody, but we're trying to get there, and we're thinking of things, and we're constantly evolving through these times. So that is what we're going to do. So I provided the results for you. You guys have the results of that survey that we did.
What's the return rate?
We have, how many participants we have right now?
39.
We have 39 and we have 24 responses. And as of today, the program is $44 a day. So it only went up $1 from 43 to 44, and they're getting a lot of recreation value for that buck. So that is, as you can see. Future of the program, we are still in talks with CTF and we're Center.
Third-party contractor that can
Yes,
do
yes, they do day programs. I can't remember the name of it, excuse me. But it's like Trinity and St. Coletta's. So we're in talks. We're talking with them, but we're going to be in talks with St. Coletta's and Trinity. I also talked to the executive director for St. Coletta's to see what we can do together, and actually to see, there's some other SRAs out there that do this. How can this be done with us? Or do we need to just stay on our path of doing what we're doing because no one's doing what we're doing? So we're at that crossroad to see what we want to do. And the beauty of working with one of these agencies, they handle all the staffing. So they handle all the workman's comp, they handle all the and then we would just provide a therapeutic recreation specialist to facilitate the play. So that would be beautiful for us, that we wouldn't have to do that. But it would have to be a good relationship where we know what staff is coming into our building. We get to have some input on who's doing that. So I'm kind of leery with that, but they're having problems. All of these organizations are having problems hiring right now. So there's not one organization that this is why stuff is stopped, because they can't find people to work. So like I said, the SRA Adult Day Program chart, these are all the SRAs that we know that has a day program, and it also has their eligibility ratio. As you can see, there's not a lot of SRAs that do 1-to-1 ratios. I think it's only 2 or 3, but the ones that do it are ran by an independent contractor. So, I mean, it's just something that we got into doing. We will still try to do some programming, but that's just something we can't find staff and we can't do right now at this time. So all of that is in your packet as well. So I have any questions to the presentation, me and Juanita? It's for the board. Sorry.
Juanita, thank you so much for putting together the new program. I think the way I see it is the new program really fits the goals and objectives of LWSRA. Staff has always done a phenomenal job. but I think the program really has a recreational based value. I have a lot of concerns when I hear day program, because you say St. Coletta's day program and our day program, and I think they're two totally different things, and I'm not sure that some of them fit the goals and objectives of our agency. When I previously worked at another agency and was on the board, we were going to start a day program, and when we reviewed it, it doesn't really, in some ways, depending on how it's structured, fit the needs or meets the goals and objectives of what we're here for. So I think what you're doing now is absolutely beneficial to our residents and our individuals and your staff. I mean, it's not easy. It looks great on paper, but I know the work you're doing. Again, the staff has always done a phenomenal job, but there's a lot of planning that goes into this. And yeah, so I thank you for doing that. And I really think the program that you've put in place really meets the goals of what we're here for. I certainly, though, understand that we have met needs previously for families that needed, you used the word earlier, and I was like, that's the word, and I hate to say it, is daycare. Our goals and objectives are not to provide daycare. We're not daycare providers. You know, we all offer after school programs, but they're supposed to be recreational based with maybe homework or infused. They're not meant to be daycare. Day camp that we provide is not meant to be daycare. So I guess as we continue to go forward, my hope is the program can remain as it is, recreational based and not daycare based. I know that's, you know, again, they're all different language and different terms, but I really applaud all the work and effort you and your staff continue to do in providing this great service.
Well, I guess I'm the historian again with this thing. So what Keith mentioned in his presentation, that's very true. The board pushed back prior to COVID the fact that by law, by state statute, by the park code, purpose of us joining forces and providing programming is for recreational purposes. And we were going too far the other way. And so were other SRAs at the time. And there was this whole debate, and it actually ended up in legislation. Because just recently, there was legislation that dictated what, you know, who could do what as far as providing shots or whatever that, you know, at an agency. And that's not us. I mean, could we get to that point? Well, you know, the training and here again, you know, the level of qualified employee that we'd have to bring on at that salary probably prohibits it. But I would still question the recreational programming piece of it. That's not our purpose. So I think that this, you know, and then take aside, now we jump into COVID. All right. COVID has changed the world we live in, good, bad, or indifferent. But we also have to look at the safety of our employees. And we have to do that on several different fronts. Probably the biggest one to retain the good employees that we have, because they're hard to replace right now. And then we're dealing with the collapse of, or the push up of the minimum wage, which now is collapsing everybody's salary system. So in order to do that, that's why you see people not coming out, because there's other opportunities. Some people don't have to work because unemployment's a lot of control at the moment. But it's the same for all of us. And we have to deal with it, and we have to adjust and adapt. So, you know, I commend the fact that the staff has looked at that, gone out there and provided a product that is more in line with the recreational programming that we're supposed to be doing, keeping our staff safe and doing what they can do. And yet we're still listening and adjusting as we go. So, you know, I mean, this isn't all on staff. The board made this push several years ago because like I said, we were going in a direction that I mean, I know I and the board at the time could not see us sustaining long term. And that was something in the whole state that was happening. So anyway, I think you guys have done a great job with it.
Okay, that's done with the reports. Move on.
All right, next on the list is finance and personnel, finance and office manager.
We, you know, as we know, Marie is leaving us at the end of October 2022, right? No, she's 21. So we explored some other options, but those fell through. So we did, you know, we came up with another option. of with Tom sitting right here. He is an individual that has proven himself to learn new tasks and be ready up for the different tasks, and he does a lot of the stuff right now. So we just made the decision to offer him a position of office manager and finance, and he accepted. And with some extra tasks, a lot of stuff he was already doing, we just put a couple things on there. So we're excited about this new person and having somebody that's here that knows our things and how we run and how we function. And he's excited for the challenge. So I just wanted to add this job description in there so you guys can see it and see what the direction that we're going. And he's pretty excited and ready for a new challenge in his life. So that's that. Any questions on that?
Does that description need to be improved at some point?
We probably should. It was most of the stuff that was already in the accountant's job description. We just changed the title to finance office manager.
Job description?
Doesn't exist, so we need to bring it back. But I think along with that, that's why I reached out to Keith. I think we need to see how this all, I don't know how, where we're at this point in time, but how the salary plugs in, and, into the chart where it falls and everything else, and then how that compares to HR source. I pulled out the finance one. I think it falls in there nicely. I just want to see where.
That's what we did. We used the basis of the finance, the office manager one that's in there. I'll pull it because I did do that research. And then how it falls in, we won't be hiring another position. So Tom is already here. Marie's position will just, we not putting another person in place. So it kind of just morphing that position into one.
So what would be Tom's current position will not be filled, or will be?
It will not. He was the support services supervisor, which is like the office manager. Tom Carson agreed upon support service supervisor. We always called him the office manager. It's just, he's always been the office manager. It's just that name has changed, and just adding a couple more duties of the finance to his title. So that is.
I think one thing just worth noting is because Tom's longevity here, he'll be able to do both roles.
Yes.
Should Tom ever leave, we probably would be looking at splitting jobs and having two positions because of Tom's longevity. He has the ability to know what his other duties are. He's mastered them, so he'll have the ability to do both. But should we ever either completely separate from the LAO services or have a replacement, we'd probably be looking at two people based on the positions.
Yeah, I see a part-time accountant still. Tom, I forgot where I was going there. Yeah, I forgot where I was going.
Some of what he was doing that,
Yes.
and some of what I was doing, like I was doing payroll, Melissa's doing payroll now. Heather did payroll, so we have started to shuffle things around, and just from a personal standpoint, I just wanted to make it clear that I love LWSRA. I've been involved for a long time, and it's nothing to do with staff or the position or anything. I'm going to still be around. I'm still available to Tom and Keith and Melissa as they have questions. But from my perspective, this really, and my heart for LWSRA, I think it really puts LWSRA on better footing because it's hard to manage life, and I have two special needs kids and without benefits, and so most people who have a background, a solid accounting background, are going to be looking for benefits, and this keeps, Tom's skills are phenomenal. It works because it's Tom right now, because he knows the registration software, the kindfold, the donation. He's intimately involved in just about everything anyway. So, yes, it adds the check processing and the deposits, and but I think it'll really work, and I think it'll work long-term. And
And
that's
this
what I
position
think.
is similar to South Suburban SRA has a finance office manager as well, and they do all of this stuff too. So, so it's kind of, we'll try it. If it doesn't work, we'll go down the third path that I had. So, but Frankfurt Square has reached out to us. Frankfurt has reached out to us. New Lenox has reached out to us. So several, we're in good hands if we need questions and we need things. So I feel comfortable about this decision, and we'll move forward.
We want to give Tom any support and resources he needs to be successful.
The only thing is we got to do our due diligence before we get to the next budget cycle, because what I don't agree with is the fact that we may need some part-time people to fill some voids. So Tom is Superman. I'm not going to disagree with that. What I'm saying is, and we all know this, you don't fill the position based on the position, not the person. So for long term, and that's why when you say other alternatives for years we've talked about, and it was this way again in the past where we went to other member districts that did the books, and we looked at that again, and in the short term that would work great and solve a lot of problems, but in the long term that doesn't make Lincoln Way Special Rec independent, and that's what the goal was. So I think as we plug this into the chart, we move to next budget year, we just got to make sure that it all makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just to add on to that, because I agree. I mean, I think this is great, but I think ultimately, ideally, we need to get to the point, because Manhattan Park District is going through the same challenges of getting to the point financially where you can supply the positions, the proper amount of salary and benefits that will be attractive to the level of professional that you need for those positions to do the job. And that's just, and I realize money's money, but that's eventually I think here at LWSRA, and me personally at Manhattan, we're just going to have to invest in that and figure out other ways because that's ultimately where you're going to see the greatest successes, have the best employees you can. And so it's just, you got to be attractive to those people.
This falls with Greg and Greg. Is it right as far as the budget and the personnel? Greg Vitale and myself?
Yes.
As far as the committee goes?
Yeah.
Okay, so based on what we're doing now, let's just look to work on this over the winter, going into the next fiscal year, make sure that this still works, or if we have to, how it plugs in, and then we'll just roll it into the budget instead of bringing something separate right now.
I mean, I think it's a great resolution to where we're at currently. So don't misunderstand my comments. I just think, Rex point, what's the ultimate place we need to be? And that's where we need, it has to continue to be our vision and our goal.
And I believe that, and that was right now, we had to really focus on getting 4 full-time recreation specialists, which we are. And that was something that we were lacking because we were dealing with a lot of part-time employees there, and we needed to focus some energy there. And then the next step was a accountant, HR type person. So
I think it also needs to be noted that, yeah, it's great to compare to other SRAs. I mean, it's certainly a legitimate and valid comparison, but every organization is different. And this particular organization, or one of our particular organizations, may have a unique need that may not look the same as your typical park district or SRA model. And I think that exists. And so it doesn't always have to be cut and paste from organization to organization. If this is something that you do because of what you provide or the service you do or the facility that you have, then that's what needs to be done.
Well, IT is a prime example. You guys do more than, I'm going to go out on a limb, than probably all the SRAs combined with what you do with IT and what you're doing virtual and everything else. So that's one of those things that, can this all be rolled together for a long period of time? Because it's only, once you start it, it's only going to get back bigger and better or whatever. So that's, we're on the same track.
Yeah, it's the challenge is where you at in the process, because it's undoubtedly you're going to get to the point where your growth is going to you're not going to keep up with the growth of your personnel, especially today. with the struggles that people are having with hiring people, hiring qualified people. And then you get to the point where everybody's just overwhelmed with the amount of work they have to do. Because that's just how it works. And then eventually you try to fill it and get it done properly, because the money has to come first.
All right. Next thing on the plate is the William A. Loud and Company invoice. So I wanted to put that out on the table because we had, some of you guys had some questions when this came through. So I'll give Bill the floor, or the board the floor. Bill is here to answer any questions or to discuss the invoice.
Good morning, everybody. I had technical difficulties in getting into the meeting at the very beginning, but we finally got those things ironed out. So if anybody has questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
I mean, Bill, you and I have talked several times about this, and, you know, again, the PPE loans were new for everybody. This is something that didn't exist prior. I know when we spoke, you had spent time on it only to figure out that you really weren't utilizing the portal. You know, you weren't in the portal. I think the board has concerns over the large amount of the invoice. I do appreciate that we have had, I believe, forgiveness of our PPE loan, but I think there's concern to the cost associated with the forgiveness. You know, again, no one's doubting that the efforts weren't there to be put forth to get to that point. But again, for example, you and I spoke when Keith was on vacation in August, when you finally had access and understood what you needed for the portal, but it needed to be turned around on Tuesday. The work that needed to be done, anyone in the office could have done, pulling invoices and bills, you know, and we could have had that prepared for you. But in the time frame, by the time you got into the portal, I think we had 5 days because it was due that Tuesday, and we're paying you at a larger $220 per hour versus having any one of the front desk staff or Marie or somebody pull those invoices. So I feel like, I think there's some concern that the learning curve, that we're paying for the learning curve, I guess. Maybe, I don't know if I'm summarizing that properly, but I guess that's kind of how I feel.
Well, to answer that, the whole PPP program from the get-go was a disaster. You're dealing with banks, you're dealing with the SBA, and you're dealing with the government. And the three of those organizations are not known for being very organized in rolling out programs.
Be careful, we are the government.
Well, you're an exception. The bigger the government gets, the less efficient they get. And they were literally changing the game as we were trying to deal with it. And not only that, but then the banks could change it differently. I don't think that, I mean, we tried to use your people as often as possible. Some of the things that your people did caused us time. We asked them to give us documents, print and copy them and drive them over to our office. Instead, they put them in PDF form and emailed them over to our office. Printing a PDF is a time-consuming process just because of the way it's put together. It's not at all like printing your Excel spreadsheet. It just takes time. The whole process just took time. We had to go through your entire general ledger for the period from March until October. And we had to pick out all of the things that we felt were expenses that would be forgiven by the banks and by the SBA. It took a long time just to find them. And I specifically talked to the bank. I talked to one of the officers at BMO, and I believe she was located in Wisconsin. And she said that we have the best and the brightest people that are going to be working with you, and you'll be able to ask them questions and you'll be able to deal with them, which was a lie. we were dealing with people in India. They had very poor connections in terms of telephone calls. And most of them had very limited ability to speak English. What we found was that everything that the first time around, when we issued our first invoice, I was told by this person that I talked to from BMO that all they wanted was general ledger accounts printed out and identify the items that fell into the different categories. We did that. And again, that was a very time-consuming process. Plus, we also had to document all of the payroll that qualified for the PPP forgiveness. That was quite a few documents in itself. Once we submitted that to the bank, it sat there and it sat there and it sat there for the longest time. And I had a document, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is from their website. And it says, potential loan forgiveness amount $252,682. From my perspective, I thought that meant that everything was submitted. What I didn't realize was that it was not submitted because there was an additional button, and I don't know if you can see where I wrote this in up here in the corner that I couldn't see. And there's no one to talk to. There's no one at any of the banks stateside that can give you any answers. And you can't get hold of someone from this hotline they had to India that could understand what you were talking about. They just kept saying, well, we're working on it. Well,
Were we the only agency that you did a PPE loan for?
pardon?
Are we the only organization that you did a PPE loan for?
No, absolutely not. We did $2 million worth of PPP loans, and most of them were in $40,000 or $50,000 chunks. Some of them as low as $5 chunks. The difference was you were the only BMO bank. You were the only person that was dealing with BMO other than a couple of small ones, and they didn't have the same requirements for documentation that you did. Now, I can tell you for a fact that across the board at every bank that we dealt with, they all had their own set of rules. There were the rules by the SBA, and they were changing constantly. And then there were what the bank itself wanted to accept as documentation. To give you an example, when I applied for a loan for one of my clients at the very beginning of this thing, there was a big question about if you had an S corp, did the profit from the S corp count as wages for the employer? Because that is the income that the employer takes home and feeds his family with. And there was no guidance from the SBA. There were some banks that approved it and some banks that didn't approve it. I had two situations where both banks approved using the profit from the SBA as a means of getting an SBA loan. Once they got down to the process of getting forgiveness from the bank, I had one fellow, and he was able to, now by this time, the SBA had issued definite regulations that said you couldn't use the profit from an SBA, from an S corp to get an SBA loan. But by that time, they had both obtained SBA loans based on those things. In trying to get forgiveness for one of the fellows, his loan was at one bank, and they accepted the fact that he spent the money on his payroll of his other employees. it wasn't spent on him personally, but it was spent by his other employees, and they accepted that as proof of forgiveness. And so his entire loan went away. On the other fellow, where he got the same kind of loan based on the profit of his SBA loan, the bank turned around and said, oh, no, you can't use all of your wages that you paid your employees to make up for the amount of the loan that was improperly approved by us. And so he has to pay back $5,000 of his loan. I mean, these kinds of things were just rampant across the whole process. We went through one batch where we shipped the information to the BMO. And again, like I said, it sat there for weeks, and they kept telling me you haven't hit the submit, you haven't submitted your information. And they said, go to the submit button. Well, the submit button was over here on my screen and it never showed up. Finally, I got a hold of somebody who talked to me and said, are you the signer for the loan? And I said, no. And they said, well, the only person that's going to see that button is a signer for the loan. So to get that amount of work that we submitted, I had to get Keith's credentials and log in as Keith, and then voila, all of a sudden there's a button sitting there that says submit application. So I clicked on that button and that got the ball rolling for the first submission we did. Now, once they got the submission, it came back and they give you the only way of communicating with these people primarily was by they would send you a document through the system, through their website. And it went through and it referred to all kinds of document numbers. And it said, on this document, you didn't do this, or you did this, or we need this, or we need that. The problem was none of my documents had document numbers on them. And I had no idea what they were referring to. So we had to read the documents, take the context, and try and figure out what they were talking about. And then when we went to correct those things, we found out that once you started correcting it, lo and behold, the documents that we submitted had numbers on it. I mean, these are the kinds of things that we were battling constantly.
Can I interrupt? Sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. First of all, guys, I do have an important meeting. I do have to take off at 11, so, and I don't want to make this about me. And again, apologize about interrupting. So just, I got a couple questions. What is our end goal here? First of all, and this is for Keith and the board. And second of all, regarding everything that you're saying, sir, and I do appreciate the explanation. Were any of these difficulties ever brought to Keith's attention that, hey, this is a pain in the you-know-what? It's going to take longer than I thought. There's all these problems. I mean, was this ever communicated?
Yes. It was communicated to Keith, and it was also communicated to Gina. When we got the first rejection from BMO, all of a sudden, the things that we had been told at the get-go, which was they only needed general ledgers and they needed the expenditures pointed out in the general ledgers. So we printed those documents, pointed them out, and labeled them and compiled them so that they would understand what they were looking for. Then they send it back and they say, oh no, we need canceled checks and we need invoices. Well, for one thing, nobody gets canceled checks. I haven't seen a canceled check in years. So the only way to prove that an expenditure was actually spent was to take the bank statements for the 7-month period, find the expenditure on the bank statement and then highlight it. Now, we're talking about 10 or 15 different categories. If we had done this on one set of bank statements, they would have been so marked up, they'd never have been able to understand what we were saying was what type of an expense. So what we ended up doing was for every category of expenditure that we were trying to use as forgiveness, we ended up giving them a 7-month bank statement with just those expenditures highlighted on the bank statement. And then we had to build spreadsheets that showed how they all tied together and came up to the amount that was on the bank statement. Because, for example, your utility bills, they don't all go through one general ledger account. They go through a couple of them, sometimes 3 or 4. And we had to take those items, put them on a spreadsheet, add them together, come up to a total, reference them to an invoice or a group of invoices, and then reference that expenditure to a dollar amount on a bank statement. And believe me, it's a really time-consuming process.
So going back to Greg Vitale's question through the board, what's the ultimate goal here? What are we trying to achieve?
Well,
I mean, I understand that the invoice is excessive. Tina called me that week that Keith was on vacation. She had been in conversation with Mr. Lau. I believe just told him to move forward, correct?
right. I think I feel to some extent, Bill, and again, I do appreciate that the systems were challenged and all this is new, but I feel like we're being billed somewhat for errors that we shouldn't have to pay for. I guess that's just how I feel. And again, I don't work in the day-to-day where like Bill had to get into your portal, but there are accountants, we have limited access to our ACS, you guys have limited access. I just feel like we were paying for something that maybe we shouldn't have had to, that our accountant should have understood. So I realize that the work is done and we've been forgiven. So we've got $250,000 in government assistance. And this isn't the first bill though. This bill's for almost $12,000 and we've already paid.
We're about.
How much, Marie? So for 20, we got $250,000 for a cost of $25,000. When we originally started the PPE loan process, it was supposed to be at 1% of the cost of the loan, or the government was going to pay the accountants. Was that, I mean, that's how I remember it. So I just feel like we've overpaid for the forgiveness. Now we needed that money. It kept our doors open. It kept us afloat. But I would say going forward, any special projects outside of the monthly finances, and if it's either we need a contract that's more clear with the LAUs, or a better, more working to doing things in-house, and or that anything when we do a special process, like if we're going to do another loan or another project, that it's not a time and material project. No average person is going to say, hey, come paint my house. Let me know when you're finished. I'll pay you $250 an hour. And they take as long as they want. And I understand that Bill didn't want to be in this as long as they were, but it's really expensive.
Well, this ended up being 10% of what we got roughly. So Bill, your other projects, you have a range of what the percent of your fees and charges were compared to the money that the agency got?
Yours was the only major loan we had to deal with at BMO. And literally from bank to bank, the difficulty of dealing with their website and dealing with their people and what they would accept or what they would not accept for forgiveness was entirely all over the board. I mean, and to answer your question, you paid me $19,000 to get you forgiveness on a $250,000 loan. That's a 13 times what you paid me. That's a pretty good return on your investment. I don't think very many of you have investment brokers that you put money with and you can get 13 times what you spend.
Well, no, but we go into it knowing that what the percentage is. So when I do an OSLA grant I know my architect and engineering fees are going to be what percent of that money that we're getting. In this, we were pretty much blind. So, I mean, so with your other agency or the other groups that you got the money for, I'm not saying it's not, I mean, 10% of what we paid out to get that money, yes, but that's not what we thought going in. So the other groups went in, was it 1%? Was it 5%? Was it more like the 10% when it was all said and done?
It was all over the board. There were some that were 10%, there were some that were 15%. It really depended on the bank and again, their facility and the ability to communicate with them. We were literally dealing with an entity where there was no one we could talk to.
We use BMO, so I know what you're talking about, but what scares me is when you start talking about you haven't seen a canceled check, because everything's electronic now. I mean, we scan our checks at the end of the day, they go into a system. Yeah, it's not paper, but it's electronic. So, you know, some of this, I think, too, I don't know how well your systems are up to date in your office, but at the end of the day, we contracted it, cost us 10%. We got the money. It's just our concern going forward, it would have to be a hard number, hard quote as far as this is what we're willing to pay out, if it's a percentage or a dollar amount, and this is what we hope to get. That's what, I mean, at the end of the day, shame on us, this is how it went. You know, it worked out.
Let me tell you one other thing about the process of what we did. We could have gotten you forgiveness very quickly, and it wouldn't have taken hardly any amount of time. What we found out after we got into this thing for 6 or 7 months was that the employee retention credit was available if you didn't use your payroll to justify your PPP loan. So the game that you had to play in order to maximize your return is use as little payroll as you possibly could, which is the easiest thing to document. And that way it opens that payroll. If you don't use it for the PPP loan, you can now get an employee retention credit for it, which you can. We've got 130, let me see here. Yeah, we've got $130-some thousand that we can get you an employee retention credit on. And that's an additional amount of money to the $250,000. I would estimate that number is going to be around $60,000. Now, I know you just said to me that anything going forward, you'd like to have a hard proposal on that. And I'm going to tell you for an absolute fact, to get you that ERC credit and that additional $60,000, I can't give you a hard quote. Because the simple fact is, in all of this, we are at the mercy of the organization that we are dealing with. And whether the federal government will accept what we give them or will not accept what we give them as documentation and come back and say, well, we need some more stuff. Or plus, we also are at the mercy of your payroll company.
I think what we're saying is, can we get a percentage that we will not to exceed to do this project going forward? So there's more money on the table. Can we say that we can do it, but not to exceed 10% of what we bring in? Can you safely say that?
I don't know that I can. I mean, I would think so based on the surface and what I'm looking at from the tax law that we have to deal with. But I can't guarantee you that number because there's a lot of different moving parts in here. I know that
I'll tell you what makes me nervous is that what if we don't get it and then we're in for 10,000 with you for this next one and we don't get the extra 60? That's
Listen,
what makes me nervous. So it's a gamble, and I don't know if I'm willing to pay that gamble and we're tight right now. So that's what makes me nervous.
Well, you qualify to use your payroll for the employee retention credit. Now, if
You know,
you,
we didn't have this detailed conversation here. What I would like to see too is the staff to have more access to the ACS portal immediately so that they can pull some of these documents that are necessary.
Everything he submitted, we gave him. He didn't come here to
Right.
get any document. So, but a lot of what they did, what, we could have done is they had told us.
Right, if they had told you
"You need to
without
do this."
3 days in notice.
Well, I didn't have any, I didn't get any direction that, and this about, driving stuff there to them versus sending it electronically. I mean, I didn't know that was an issue either, but, we could have done a lot of the work and, and Bill had said to someone that it could be done, pushed down at his organization instead of at his very high hourly rate. So that's kind of our.
Yeah, well, in reality,
I totally disagree with, I can't see whoever that was talking, but I totally disagree with that statement because we did tell you we needed copies of these documents and you chose to send them by PDF. We wanted printed copies and we specified that.
Okay,
Because
well, we're
a
not gonna go
long
back and
time
forth. Let's not go back and
PDF.
forth with this. Let's just, we're gonna pay the 11,000, that's 10%. And what do we want to do with the other, as a board? I mean,
so Keith, could I stop everyone? I really do have to go. It's an important construction meeting, but I just wanted to end it and I do apologize about leaving early. Moving forward, here's the only thing I recommend. And whenever there's a time materials type of agreement, what I like to put in is in which, by the way, I mean, I do disagree with your hard estimate, 100%. You could give an estimate based on all these that you've done. Tell us, put an agreement, X amount of hours. If we approach those hours, it's a conversation between you and the executive director on how we want to move forward. That's my recommendation for any type of these agreements. But that is a conversation for another day. But folks, I do have to go. Have a great day. Those are my parting words. Congrats, Tom.
yeah, go down Greg's thing, so it's not to exceed, and plus staff and Bill, you guys both have history. You know what went wrong, what didn't go wrong, so that's another point that I can't believe you can't dial in a not to exceed number, and make it worthwhile. If we send 10% of $6,000 on $60,000, that's worth it. So there should be some way to go through it. The learning curve's out of the way, the communication thing should be better, but that's up to you guys to make that call, make that proposal and send it to us. We're just saying as a board, I think I'm hearing right, we're not just gonna give a blank checkbook to do any of this moving forward. It's gonna be it's gonna be not to exceed number. That's how we operate, and professionally, Bill, I'm gonna disagree with you because we did not a PPE, but we've done a bunch of this stuff in-house. We worked with BMO Bank. My staff did it. I mean, it can be done. I mean, and I don't know.
All right, so you'll work with them to get us any information.
Yeah. Yep, so Bill, if you can, we'll chat offline. Thank you for coming, answering questions. I appreciate it.
Okay.
And we will submit this for payment.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, bye.
Anything under facilities and planning?
No,
Moving under old business, resolution number 21-4, fund balance policy.
we still table that.
Okay, that's still per pending audit.
Yeah, pending audit.
Any need for executive session?
So they made some good recommendations
Yeah.
though, so we're on the right track. So
Yeah.
we'll have that when we go into our next.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
I like it. All right, any executive session?
No.
New business, there's a letter submitted by Mac for the motion to join Move United.
Yeah, just a little brief story on this. Move United is a organization that they have access to a lot of grants, trainings. It's $250 a year. We will be invited to the table of doing more programs cooperatively with them. So to get to the table, we have to be a member of this organization, and to be accepted, into this organization, we have to have a motion from our board approving us to join. So that is the organization. So it's a organization for adaptive sports. So they do training, they do, they'll send trainers, they give insurance. There's a lot of grants out there, individual grants, program grants, and different things like that.
This is a motion to join, the membership is $250 a year.
Yes.
I'm not opposed to this, but John, typically this stuff is a resolution. I mean, the amount is kind of crazy because it's so small, but normally when you go after a part, normally when they want board's authorization, it's in the form of a resolution. Am I not correct?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I mean, I guess, Keith, if you could explain a little bit deeper as to what the terms would be for joining it.
Okay. I can send you those things. They do provide insurance. They provide, which we don't need.
Is it annual membership?
It is a annual membership a year, $250 a year.
I mean, is it critical for today? I mean, can you draft a resolution, a short resolution, and we can approve it next month? Or somebody else? I mean, typically that's when you send something off, it's a resolution from the board off when, what are you gonna send, the minutes that we?
Yeah, we need to send the minutes
Right.
that it was
So,
approved.
Typically, it's a document.
So I can get more information and background on it, and we can bring it back next month.
That's just my opinion. You guys can understand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, it's probably best practice, so don't misunderstand. I think when it comes to little things like this, we just move typically on motions and.
I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going to be something that's like, becoming a member of IAPD, for instance, you can do that on a motion, right? So, or some other generic membership. But if it's something that's going to be a little bit more structural and in depth in terms of the relationship, then frankly, yeah, resolution's the way to go.
Can we draft a resolution for next month?
And then we do have item B, which is resolution number 20-7, whistleblower protection policy.
John, you want to take lead on that?
Yeah, so recently the folks in Springfield were kind enough to add more stuff to the plate of local government entities. Basically, what this is for is it's noble in its idea, basically creating a little bit firmer path and clearer paths for folks who have complaints to make about the way certain governmental conduct is occurring. And so this is basically laying out that you cannot retaliate against a whistleblower. The issue that is just goofy is they require you to identify what's called an auditing official. And that auditing official is then required to give a copy of the statute and copy of written protocols to each of the current and new staff members, and they're supposed to give that to each and every staff member each year. The other interesting, and we are recommending that it would be the director who takes on that role, or else sometimes you'll see if there's a separate HR head, you have that person as identified as the auditing official. Interestingly, the statute says that if you fail to identify an auditing official, what happens is that it is automatically that the local state's attorney is the auditing official. And just stop and think about that. how the heck is the local state's attorney gonna know when you guys go hiring new staff or bringing new staff on? I mean, it's just not very well drafted piece of legislation. It hasn't been thought through all the way, but we're stuck dealing with it. So the resolution is our recommendation. Presuming, the board passes it, then we would draft up a brief written policy for Keith to be able to use.
Any response?
Well, you know me, but we've already done this. I mean, this needs to be incorporated into the policy manual, and in the policy manual, as long as I'm assuming we've gone to where it's handed out and it's acknowledged, and you have records that it's acknowledged by all the employees, so then that takes care of that requirement. So I'm all for this. This has been out, this needs to be done.
Motion to approve resolution 21-7 whistleblower protection policy.
Second.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Kirsten,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Greg Lewis,
Yes.
Audrey. Yes. Tina,
Yes.
Greg Kelly is absent, and Greg, Jay,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, we'll move on to directors and commissioner comments.
Me first, because I haven't had enough to say today. Again, I thank you for having Mr. Lau here. I think I addressed some of the issues that I feel like have been ongoing forever. I don't think any one of us would ever give a blank check like that to any other professional services. And he seems to think that that's okay. So I hope I made my opinion on that clear. So I will certainly reach out to Nadine, but great job on the golf outing. I know there's been some transition over the last few years of who's been taking that on. It was a great success and to pull off 2 of them. So again, I hope that the staff who was able to attend NRPA found it valuable. It was certainly a little bit of a different format than it had been in years past, but there was still great information. And I will say that everywhere that Mr. Wallace went, he was able to engage in people, and it's always fascinating to see people that I literally witnessed at one breakfast one morning, almost an intervention of an individual who was going to change her career path because of the experiences that she could hear about from Keith and LWSA and all those things. So we're very fortunate to have the leadership that we have here. So.
Thank you for the Titans presentation. I appreciate the history and the background, and I'm more knowledgeable for it. So thank you for the time and effort to put that together. Good luck with the slip, trip, and fall stuff. We're getting started on that today. So if you have any helpful hints, I'd appreciate it. So that's it. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
I just want to thank you again for all the presentations today, and I kind of learned a little bit more every time. And I know I say this every time, but I'm still trying to understand all of it.
Don't worry about
As I undertook this role, and appreciate the presentations today and get a little more insight into everything. And Melissa and Nadine have been awesome on coming out and working with us, and we're still trying to get some stuff going. And they're coming out to do some training with my staff for my before and after school care that I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. You do a great job. Ditto. Yeah, just being able to be here and learn more about what you guys have to offer and all the ways that we can work together. It's just, continues to fascinate me with everything that you guys do and how impressive that is. So thank you, and just learning lots.
Are you sure? Anyone but Greg. Mr. Lewis, please.
I think the staff does a great job here. We built a great group. We continue to add to it. We continue to expand. Probably the biggest thing is that, and we've seen that with the accounting position now, that the staff jumps in and does whatever it takes to keep the ship going. And that's an important piece of the whole puzzle, so to speak. And when we're out, if it's at the national conference, state conference, everybody engages. I mean, we're not wallflowers by any means. So it's a great thing because that's the purpose of going to those things. I think just the fact that as we continue to improve things, the accounting system naturally, because I think that's part of the problem. I have so many questions from that whole discussion because the group that does the accounting, why they don't have access to some of that stuff, I just don't, it blows my mind. But then, they had problems getting in on the Zoom meeting, so that says enough as it is with the technology, so.
PDF copies versus paper copies.
Yeah, I just crazy. And like I said, we work with BMO. I don't disagree with anything that Mr. Lau said about that, but we navigated the waters, I'm sure, but we're a little more tech savvy, so as that goes. So they'll just continue to do what you guys are doing, I think it's great.
I don't have much, but thank you guys for your support. I know it's a long meeting, but we have been getting a little attacked a little bit by some of our programs. So I thought it was important that we share some of the history just in case someone comes to your meeting and has a presentation on something. So you have a little background and history of what's going on and you can prepare yourselves. Diane is here. I know you missed the early part, but her son is in the program. She is enjoying it. I don't know. These are all anonymous Titans surveys. However, we will learn if people don't tell us what their needs are, we can't learn, good or bad. So we welcome that challenge and thank you guys for giving us direction. Thank Melissa and Tammy and all the staff for doing a great job here at LWSRA and continuing to press the envelope. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add other than, thank you for the information and your time and efforts towards everything. You guys obviously, I should say honest, you do continue to do an outstanding job, but I think it's very, sometimes maybe not understood that there's a mission, let me use a park district, for example. Park district's missions are not travel sports. We're here to provide recreational activity. If you get into travel sports, maybe, but the mission is recreation. And LWSRA has a mission, and that mission needs to be served. And that mission needs to be served for the greater population of the residents and of the people we serve. And although it's never ever possible for any organization to meet 100% of those needs, it's our job to see what we can do and ask the questions and get the feedback to see how we can best serve the majority of that population the best way we can. And I think that you guys do an outstanding job with that. So thank you very much. And I appreciate all the board's time and feedback tonight, some more than others, but hey, it's okay. I'm just kidding. Great meeting. I appreciate the dialogue. We need a motion to adjourn and roll call, please.
So move. Second. Head under?
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly,
Yes.
Fred Lewis,
Yes.
Audrey. Yes. Gina.
Yes.
Kirsten.
Yes.
And Jay.
Yes.
Motion passed. We are adjourned.
11:14.
Thank you.
Take care, folks.
Thanks, John.
Bye, John.